like it went in the Pentagon.
Engine 101, did it crash over there in the Pentagon? Is that correct?
It appears an airplane crashed into the World Trade Center.
One clear blue Tuesday morning, the nation would face its greatest test. In the year after the attacks, over 70,000 Americans would enlist in the Guard and Reserve. Support for the military was at an all-time high.
Since 9/11, the U.S. Navy Reserve has mobilized 97,000 times, primarily in the support to the global war on terror, but also 2,600 times in direct support to COVID-19. There's no question that the departure of those sailors from their civilian employers and their return of those civilian employers could not have been executed seamlessly without the support of ESGR.
Thousands of demonstrators.
50 years ago, as the draft was coming to an end and reliance on the reserve was building, there were very real questions.
There were many skeptics in 1972 about the elimination of the military draft, and that placed increasing demands upon our nation's employers.
In 1972, then President Richard Nixon officially brought ESGR, employer support of the Guard and Reserve, into being, creating a system of shared beliefs, bedrock to our national security. In the years after its founding, ESGR established statewide committees, started employer recognition programs, educated stakeholders about employment rights and responsibilities under the law, and supported global deployments for the nation's defense. The Guard and Reserve also served their local communities with unique capabilities during local and national emergencies.
For over 30 years now, we have had Guardsmen under continuous mobilization. That ESGR program is absolutely crucial.
As the Guard and Reserve are called upon, so too are their patriotic employers.
The National Guard and Reserve, they've been called on so much more. Training is constant. It places a huge demand on employers. And I think everyone recognizes that.
Our name is employer support of the Guard and Reserve. So, I let them know that we're actually there to support them.
I am proud to say that we have the most supportive employers anybody could ever ask for. You want support for your military, you're going to find it in the employers of the United States.
For the last 50 years, ESGR has helped to build connective tissue between reserve component members and their civilian employers. This empowers them to work with their employers to volunteer when our nation needs them most.
More than 85% of our soldiers maintain careers outside of the military, which makes employers a critically important part of our soldiers' experience.
Army Guard members rely on their full-time civilian jobs to support themselves and their families. The ESGR strives to ensure they have those jobs to return to after answering the call of service.
To achieve its mission, ESGR educates, recognizes, and mediates. ESGR's Ombudsman provide a no-cost, neutral program for employers and Guard and Reserve members to mediate disputes. On average, these ombudsmen mediate about 1,300 disputes a year.
We're more of a mediator. In fact, that's one of our missions, is we mediate. We try and be very proactive.
As an ombudsman, I always tell my employers and my service members is that we are an all-volunteer organization. We really want to be there. We really want to help them.
I think employers really do want to do the right thing, and ESGR has been such an effective tool in helping our employers understand what the right thing is.
ESGR has multiple initiatives to engage employers, including statements of support.
Literally hundreds of thousands of our nation's employers have signed ESGR statements of support.
And I jokingly tell people all the time that a statement of support to me is symbolic, like a wedding ring. When you sign that statement of support, everybody knows you're doing it.
Intrinsic to ESGR's approach are employer experiences, such as boss lifts.
The proactive programs that ESGR has, from our boss lifts to our briefing with the bosses. Once we give them that quote unquote military experience, then we've got them hooked. They begin to understand what their folks are really doing. It's not a vacation away from the company.
We have sent many executives and leaders on boss lift operations, and they will come back as true advocates for the military.
ESGR's suite of awards ranges from the Patriot Award to the prestigious Secretary of Defense Employer Support Freedom Award.
That employer recognition, that to me is just very rewarding, and I think it's impactful.
Sir, we are honored
when we received the Freedom Award, we brought down our president and CEO to the Pentagon. He actually met the Secretary of Defense, and he often speaks of that experience and what it meant to him.
At the center of all this are those who serve our nation, and ESGR is there for them, providing peace of mind.
I want to say how grateful I am for ESGR. They have been a fantastic resource for me just in my civilian career. The impact of ESGR on our company has just been so positive. It has made the relationship between the National Guard and my company that much greater.
At every level of the military, ESGR's success is clear.
The major difference that the ESGR makes to the Coast Guard is when a member is deployed, that member can serve their country knowing that ESGR has their back.
The professionals behind ESGR allow and give the ability for our Marines to focus. For them to be mentally, physically, and spiritually ready to train is incredibly important to us.
We really appreciate all of our ESGR volunteers and what they do on behalf of our soldiers and their families. It makes a difference.
The Guard and Reserve also act as a powerful link from the private sector to the military, bringing benefits to both.
The average Air Force Reserve pilot has over 2,700 flight hours in military aircraft and many more in the civilian industry. I cannot overstate the value of having rapid access to that deep bench of experience.
The ever-changing landscape of conflict and climate requires a resilient military, and much of the talent for this reality is in the Guard and Reserve.
When it comes to retention, our goal is to help our soldiers grow as individuals and leaders, and that means supporting them as they pursue fulfilling careers outside of the military. ESGR is a great tool in our arsenal to ensure soldiers have a positive experience both in and out of uniform.
ESGR helps us protect the all-volunteer force. It is a tangible, immediate assistance in retaining our Marines in service.
Through the objective, do not stop. We need that talent. That's what's going to make us the strongest and most reliable military force in the world.
ESGR's incredibly hardworking staff helps support thousands of unpaid volunteers who give over 200,000 hours per year on average. Their motivations are both patriotic and personal.
For me, it's an honor to be able to serve in this way.
My father never wanted people to know that he served in Vietnam because he was afraid that it would affect his employment opportunity. That's what keeps me engaged and motivated.
I think it's the least I can do to give back in some small way for those people who have secured my freedom, who have secured my liberty.
ESGR has figured out what works and applies it daily. But the mission to foster a culture where all employers support and value their Guard and Reserve employees is never complete.
At no point will we be able to say mission complete. There'll be another generation of employers and hiring managers that come along.
I think the future of ESGR is very bright. I mean, we have a mission, we're working at it, and we're going to continue to work at it.
That employer-employee relationship is just going to be more critical. That makes the mission of ESGR far more relevant than it ever has been.
There will always be a need for what we bring to the table.
I am extremely excited about the future for ESGR, not for what we can do for ESGR, but what ESGR can do for our service members.
The Air National Guard salutes ESGR on 50 years of dedicated service. Thank you.
Congratulations to ESGR on 50 years of service.
The Army National Guard salutes ESGR on 50 years of service.
The U.S. Navy Reserve salutes ESGR on 50 years of service.
The United States Coast Guard Reserve salutes the ESGR on 50 years of service.
For the entire ESGR team, we sincerely appreciate your continued contribution. Thank you and Semper Fidelis.
The Air Force Reserve salutes ESGR on 50 years of service.
Employer support of the Guard and Reserve. 50 years of service to those who serve.